the Azure span blew up. I actually had a fun thing.
It always blows up. It's blowing up.
I had a fun thing last night.
Yep.
I think you did as well.
Oh, yeah, the EU broke, yeah.
Yeah, EU broke. So we got logged out, and maybe 45 minutes later, servers came back on, but we all needed to install a 128 megabyte patch. And then, whenever I'd log in, I'd be in Valdrakken for 10 seconds, and then I'd be immediately disconnected. So I was able to stutter step myself out of Valdrakken and then play the game a bit, but you didn't.
Because I was in the Dragon Skill camp in the Waking Shores, and I just got logged out every time I logged in, or disconnected every time I logged in.
Yeah,
and
weird.
Then after about an hour, because we're watching the Game Awards, I got about 15 steps forward and disconnected again. I was like, I'm going to bed now. Goodbye.
So, as for what's causing the lag, we can go through all of these, but also, I mean, one of them's
people like.
Yeah, but also encryption. So yes, some things have been causing the lag in the Azure span. The community feast, because that was required for aiding the Accord for most players, wasn't required for mine. Mine was just get 4,000 rep.
This week?
Yeah.
What? Maybe
I think
I'll fix that.
I think it's partially randomized.
Interesting.
It might be. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly sure mine's 4,000. Anyway, who knows? Cobalt Assembly, also in that zone, so people trying to get the 389s. The 2x4 cloth enchant farm groups. Interesting. Yes. So with particular specs set in both tailoring and enchanting, it was possible to make 100 to 300k an hour in some farming spots. These were crazy, killing 8 to 10,000 mobs per hour. Holy shit. And then also the Mount Reagent farm. So the Temperament Skyclaw requires 20 each of some certain items that can be found in the span, which are Tuskar Jerky. Hopefully that's jerky made by the Tuskar. Flash Frozen Meat. And Norland's House Special. So people were, of course, farming those, but also...
That's why my frozen meat was going for so much.
There you go.
Nice. Beautiful. Yeah, it is really bad how it's just like it's a broken zone a lot of the time. I will say, though, big improvement on BFA. Where was it 9?
Oh yeah, Mike and his marble. No, Mike and his dice.
Yeah, so it was 9. Was it like for like 3 patches that game? 8 point. For like 3 patches, that game was just to play.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah, it was madness. God, whenever the World PvP event in Azeroth was on, it's just
just the battle for Azeroth just didn't work.
Yeah,
for months and months and months.
Well, that must have really done their head into the engineering team.
Yeah,
like the designers have made so many procs.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, and now our expansions broke for months, not over a year. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
the other side of things then is just from the engineering update about the launch.
Yeah.
Basically, they talk about, right, now they slowly roll expansions out over a few phases. This is obviously good for stability. So they, had some issues, but another change then was greatly enhanced support for game data encryption. The encrypted records, of course, have let them hold things back for when they're actually seen in the game.
Worth it.
That's all really good, but now they know that the lag and instability that they saw last week was caused by the way these, basically the two systems interacted. The result was they forced the simulation server that moves your characters around the world, performs spells and abilities, to recalculate which records should be hidden more than 100 times a second per simulation. Meaning that a great deal of CPU power was spent on those calculations. The simulations then became bogged down, and requests from other services to those simulation servers backed up, which players see as messages like lag and the world server being down. As we discovered, records encrypted until a timed event unlocked them, exposed a small logic error in the code. A misplaced line of code signaled to the server that it needed to recalculate which records to hide, even though nothing had changed. They just oh my god, they just had a call in there, didn't they? Oh, they just fucking call. Oh, my dudes.
This is why you don't get your engineers to crunch on code. Because this shit happens. It happens to every goddamn person who's ever written
Callisto protocol.
Yeah, a single line of code in their life. When people work under heavy conditions, they're more likely to make mistakes. And obviously, when you're just smashing content out and a mistake's like, there's a typo in the quest writing, whatever. Oh, this one has the wrong reward. That's like a little bit rough. Whatever. Oh, like rares are dropping slightly higher. Whatever.
Yeah, like in the Callisto Protocol, they it's like a similar, similar issue where
they patched the wrong file, wasn't it?
Yeah, they patched the wrong file, which meant that whatever I suppose their shader pre-caching wasn't working, which meant that shit had to be compiled whenever a new model entered, was thrown in, and then the players have their game stuttering all the time.
You do not have people who are writing code that important. You do not have them crunch. Unless you absolutely desperately need to make the game work, but you should not. Because even Aliens Colonial Marines, right?
That's so insane.
That game had absolutely incredibly well executed AI, except no one got to play with it because there was some config, some of the default AI config was just wrong and turned off all of the amazing systems.
Does that mean that Aliens Colonial Marines, with that turned on, like, is it still a pretty scuffed game?
It's still pretty scuffed, but like a lot of the like really major, completely game ruining experiences were just the aliens don't move right. They're wrong. They behave wrong.
The config file was wrong.
Because someone had the default config wrong, probably from testing, and didn't get it changed back in time, something like that. And that was someone who was writing pretty important code. You don't that person, especially because of the consequence of that game, they should probably have had 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of time to see their family and eat food, and then 8 hours of work, and they probably worked like 16 hours a day for the last month of development.
And so much stuff can be like, there's so much amazing stuff that in a good development pipeline can happen in the final 3 months or whatever of a game. Was it Friday the 13th? It's actually pretty damn good, and they delayed that by 3 or 4 months, and I think it was 505 Games, a subsidiary of Embracer Group.
Yes.
I think it was their CEO.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to remember. It's broadly something similar to that anyway, but they basically said, we delayed like a few months to polish, and we went from a 7 to a 9, sold banger. Great.
Yeah, that was their internal estimation for score went up 2 points because we made good now.
And like I definitely know with Bill Beyond, we've certainly gained a few points.
Yep.
You've seen the stuff as well.
Yep, definitely. Crazy additions
Yeah, and it's one of those things that all of that stuff is so much harder to do with a live game, like an MMO.
Yep.
So goddamn, it's fucking hard. Anyway, so they talk about essentially, them all basically being in the war room, maybe a work from home war room, but a war room nonetheless. Basically just going through the whole thing, and it's a really awesome post. Yeah. And that they had their engineering team draft this up it's just so fucking cool.
I remember Riot were doing this for years with League and stuff, and I was like, I love reading all of these. Even when you get some sort of engineer on Reddit just making a comment here's how this worked in the game I was working on 10 years ago, and here's all the crazy stuff you encounter in life. You're like, oh, this is so valuable. Yeah.
So what happens is they see people go onto the Horde boat, airship that arrives first. Yeah. They start searching their logs and dashboards. Some players are on the Dragon Isles map, but not many. People or their colleagues are reporting their character names and realms as specific examples. People are reporting spikes and CPU load on their network file storage. People are just on the team are looking at what's happening in the game. Then they see the Alliance boats arrive, or more accurately, not arrive, and then the Horde boats don't return. So then they realize, okay, the boats are stuck. The Dragon Isle servers are taking much longer to spin up than expected. Then they try to work out what the hell's going on. Boats have been a problem in the past, so they turn on the portals, that's how I got to the
events. That broke my heart, because the boats are so cool.
Yeah. So network file storage is clearly overloaded. There's a large network queue on the service responsible for coordinating the simulation servers, making it think that simulations aren't starting, which then means it's just launching shit more and more and more and more. Oh, God. Soon they discover that adding the portals, of course, has made the overload worse.
Yeah.
Because I guess people, not getting in the boats masked that problem being so bad.
And now everyone teleports to this instance at the same time.
Soon because at least the boats would load manage clumps of players.
Yeah.
In a way. Soon we discover that adding the portals makes it worse because players can click the portals as many times as they want. Yep, so they turn the portals off. Now the problems are persisting. They're trying to work out the increasing load as many players, to get people to be able to play, but the service is not acting like it did in their pre-launch tests. So they're trying to work out what that is.
Smooth on bit as well.
People, then they split up, right? Who's going to sleep? Who's going to work?
Fuck, crazy, like.
So that they can get this going. By Tuesday morning, they have a better understanding. So they know they're sending many more messages to clients about quests than usual, though later discoveries will reveal that this isn't causing problems. So they get it's an issue, but it's a red herring.
Yep.
A new file storage API they're using is hitting our file storage harder than usual. Some new code is added for quest givers to beckon players. Basically, it's slower than it should be. The service is taking a very long time to send clients all the data. Changes made in hotfixes. Reports are coming in that players who have gotten to the Isles are experiencing extreme lag. I start to experience this lag about 6 hours after launch, maybe 6 or 7 hours. Mid-Tuesday morning, a coincidence happens. Digging into the new beacon code, they find hooks for the encryption system.
Because you don't want quests to be back into that should be encrypted.
So they start looking at the question from the other side. Could it actually be that the encryption system being slow explains these issues? And it turns out, yes, the encryption system being slow explains the hotfix problem, the file storage problem, and the lag players are experiencing.
You see whenever you're like debugging something and you get to that moment and you're like,
God, it's
you
so
see
good.
like the almost like the mind map or like the web of things interconnecting, and it twigs on you. All of these things are related to this one problem. It's so satisfying. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Fucking, brings me back to a certain final project. So, the author of the relevant part of the system is able to identify the error and make the needed correction. Then, of course, they start to fix this code, but pushing a fix to stuff used across so many services isn't flipping a switch. So new binaries must be pushed out and turned on. They must slowly move players from the old simulations to the new ones for the correction to be picked up. In fact, at one point, they try to move players too quickly and cause another part of the service to suffer. Some of the affected binaries cannot be corrected with a service restart, which we delay until the fewest players are online to not disrupt the people in the game. So I guess when you start to see, rolling realm restarts that are not pre-announced, it's stuff like this. By Wednesday, fix was out. Problem solved.
Class. I bet they all ate and drank like fucking crazy that weekend.
Deserved.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, holy shit. So if you ever want if you want an insight into how this kind of thing happens, there you go. Turns out whenever your character was going up to an NPC, it was just executing some slow code.
Yep.
And there was a few problems.
Lots of it.
And that just cascaded.
And that back end stuff is so cool too. Yeah. I love it. I love it. But
so,
it probably wasn't worth it.
In reality, you broke the expansion. We all broke the expansion.
That's always the case.
Sorry, engineers.
Yeah.
We'll try to play the game less next time.
It's kind of crazy that despite all of those issues, I still had a pretty good launch experience. Outside of not playing the game for 4 hours, but after that it was pretty good.
4 hours?
Yeah, I didn't get in properly after half 2 or 3, I think. Maybe it was Nancy, but it was definitely
an hour and a half, I think.
Fuck, not for me.
Yeah, it was because I went and played some Mountain Blade.
I'm pretty sure I didn't play half 1, 2, maybe half 2, something like that. I remember
it was at half 12.
It was many hours.
No, we must have done it at a similar time because I wasn't too far behind you and John. We were questing together in a group.
Oh yeah, no, we weren't questing together in a group. Me and John were questing together.
Oh yeah,
and you were in that group.
Yes, I happened to be there.
Yeah, you were utterly fucking useless. Us having the time of our lives, deleting poor horde that got near us. You're just watching us die over in the corner.
I was 1 or 2 quest steps behind you, I think.
No, you weren't. You were ahead of us at times. You were ahead of us at times because we stopped to kill a load of people and we overtook you. We're like, what is happening? How are we killing people and overtaking you? What is going on here?
2 boys doing quests.
Yeah, 2 boys and was it Puppet Master, the DK? Sorry. We deleted them.
Gnome DKs. How ridiculous.